Stephen, it probably wasn't a vintage performance from your side, but they found a way to win in the end. A 2-1 victory over Thistle. Give us your thoughts.
Well, I think that was the most important thing was we'd said at half time we hadn't played well. We lacked a little bit of urgency in our play and intensity, and Partick Thistle looked as if they wanted a little bit more. And I think that hurt me a little bit because I haven't said that too many times this season about the team. And we made a couple of changes at half time just to try and change the shape, see if we could get some sort of energy or impetus in the game. It gives us a slight little change, but when you're struggling in football, someone has to kind of spark it off. Somebody has to take the lead and try and get us into the game. I thought Jake, probably about 70 odd minutes, Jake Hastings down the left hand side and put a cross into the box, and something nearly happened, and it kind of galvanised us a little bit. The goalkeeper makes a mistake for the goal to make it 1-1, but I just felt from then on it was going to be us who was going to win the game. We had suddenly found a way back into the game. Everybody looked a little bit more energetic, a bit more enthusiasm about them, and kind of more intensity and wanting to do things quicker, throw-ins quicker, free kicks quicker. So I think credit has to go to the players for finding a way. That's crucial as a young player, that in a game situation where you're not playing well, how do you get through it? How do you come out the other end with 3 points? So that was pleasing, but there was an awful lot in the first 70 minutes that wasn't very pleasing. So we'll have to go back and analyse it and look at it and have some meetings.
Going through the game in chronological order, you lost a goal shortly before the interval, about nine or so minutes before the break. You disappointed the way that your team are cut open, and then the player had quite a fair bit of space at the back post to slot?
Well, you can give them credit for playing out. Sometimes that shows you when you're too open. I think the game then, I think they had started to play around about the 18-yard box, and we were probably quite deep, probably towards our 18-yard box. So there was plenty of space for them to play in. Trying to think off at the top of my head, I thought there was a few occasions where their players were playing in between ours. Yep. Nobody actually got tight. It was nearly getting close. It was nearly getting tight, and it probably summed up our first half. We nearly done things well enough. We nearly made that pass. We nearly made that final cross. So, from their point of view, it was fantastic. The boys were talking about in there kind of Barcelona-esque. But from a defensive point of view, all it needs is someone to be in the right position, someone to read the situation a little bit better, someone to take a little bit of responsibility, step on and pick up a man. If you allow the opposition to play in between you and they knock the ball about 1 and 2 touch, they're going to cause you problems. So, that was disappointing. But sometimes when you go a goal down, it probably was deserved from their point of view. They'd played well enough. The challenge for us was then to pick it up and take the baton on the second half, and eventually we did.
You're right, and you did that, and you got back into the game, and actually, ironically, it was probably from a ballooned free kick that was probably overhit by Ferguson that tricked the goalie in to come out and get it. It was a hint of fortune from that point of view.
It was. I was disappointed in the free kick that he hit, and I think Keith had actually turned around to write something down about it. Keith turned back around, the ball was in the back of the net, but if you have that presence of Dylan in the box, he can win things and he can cause problems. I felt for the first 60-65 minutes their number 9 Kevin Nisbet was terrific. I'd said the young Dylan Faulkner and I said Dylan Mackin after. That's how you play as a number 9. You cause centre half problems, you run down the side, you're strong in possession, your teammates trust you're going to win the ball. But after about 65 minutes, the 2 centre halves seemed to get a better grip, and Dylan Mackin took it on for us. Dylan was then a little bit of a target man for us. He started winning headers, he got galvanised from the goal he scored. He took the baton, he was the one fighting and scrapping it and probably leading us forward. So, but what I've said to him is he can't just do it for 20-25 minutes. He has to do it for 70, 75, 80 minutes. And then if he's tired, we can bring him off. But he got us 2 goals. He's been prolific all season for us. He's a handful, he's hard to play against. But he has to understand he has to be harder to play against for longer periods in the game.
You're right, and it was Mackin who did score the decisive second. It was from the penalty spot. Did you get much of a view of the decision, that the referee eventually gave?
We were a bit bemused, to be honest. I'd spoke to Scott McKenzie and he wasn't too sure. There was an incident just before it where Dylan, I think, was quite clearly pushed into the net. And sometimes these things play in referees' minds. I wouldn't like to think he's given us a penalty when we don't deserve it. I'm not too sure. He seemed to think there was pulling or tugging going on in the box. So we've maybe been a little bit fortunate to get that penalty kick, but I certainly felt before we should have had the penalty kick. But Dylan doesn't care. He steps up and puts it in the back of the net. So was it just rewards? Probably a little bit fortunate. We've played in games this season where we feel we've been unfortunate in games we've lost. Maybe could have won games, or we've drawn when we maybe could have won. So they say these things even themselves up, but I'm happy just we've won the game. We found a way, but there's a lot of hard work to be done in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Stephen, thank you.
Cheers, boys.